it's been 25 years since you guys all sat at a table together. When was the last time you all saw each other?
Oh, gosh.
25 years ago.
25 years ago.
All at the same time? Probably 25 years.
Wow. What's that like?
Surreal a little bit. It's a bit of a time warp. I mean, there is a sense that no time has passed, actually, which is sort of wild.
Yes. I can still cast my mind back 25 years to the sunny San Francisco days and meeting you all on that particular day.
Yeah. And the restaurant, being in the restaurant.
That
In that restaurant for like 9 years.
How long did that restaurant scene take to shoot?
It felt like
It
forever.
was weeks. I don't know.
2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a huge sequence, massive sequence.
One of the crowning achievements. I mean, that scene was so emotional.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of a roller coaster, isn't it?
And coming here today, I went on my phone to Google the movie, and up came the restaurant scene, and Robin talking to my character Stu, and he was so rude about Sally's character. Oh my God, the language that came out of his mouth. And you were all dismissed when we came to do the close-ups.
I remember.
You were all sent off to school, and Sally was over in the corner doing her knitting or something like that. She liked to knit. Do you remember? So it came time to do Robin's close-up and my close-up, and I'm sitting here. Robin is there as Mrs. Doubtfire, and he just unleashed the most bluest, the craziest, innuendos about Sally's character and what she was up to. And I just could. Yes. And it was
Very
on my
specific.
close-up that he went to town. He just pulled out all the stops of.
You look wonderfully uncomfortable in that scene.
No acting required. Just be yourself.
How did you keep it together across from some of the best ad-libbing around?
Couldn't really.
Yeah.
We did a lot of takes.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, take 25, and Robin would be different every time. He would come up with something different every single time.
Well, I remember in the scene where you're talking to Mrs. Doubtfire, and it's the exchange of your accent is a little muddled, so is your tan. And I don't even remember if I'm actually in that scene, but I was watching that scene, and I remember laughing and then going, oh my God, I just ruined this take that came out of nowhere and was so brilliant. So I don't know if that was just sound people doing a spectacular job removing my laughter, but it was in the movie, and I'm so glad I didn't wreck it.
Yes.
Yeah, Matt, were you talking about the remote? Because I remember we did that. We did that so many times.
Oh my gosh. Just when he flips the remote into the darn fish tank, that was like
Yeah.
a 30, 40 take. And I've never experienced anything like it, to see a whole crew of like 150 people just like all trying to get visuals and see what was going to happen next. You know, every take was something new and different and obviously amazing. So
Deep CNN, I mean, that was one thing. But yeah, he had so many different takes. So many different, every time he had something different.
And it was constant. It was just nonstop.
Yeah.
Wow.
The pool scene too, just so many different,
Oh, the pool scene where he hits me on the head with a line. I thought, my God, we're going to be here all day. It's going to be exhausting.
The run-by fruiting.
The drive-by fruities. Yes. And I go up and I order the drink. I'm walking away with the drinks. Take one, it went by my ear. Take two, it just hit me. Boink, the back of the head. That was the print. Wow. Yes.
it was my first movie, so I thought, all movies are like this.
oh wow.
I was 5. I knew nothing. I was just like, oh, so there's going to be so many takes, and it's going to be really funny all the time, and it could be a little disappointing.
Yeah,
after
rude
that.
awakening afterwards.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the first time you saw the script and you read the script?
I remember the first time I saw Robin Williams.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I remember loving the script, and I was so thrilled to get the job, as an actor one always is. But particularly this job, because it was Robin Williams, and I was such a huge fan of this man's work. And then the script was just delightfully charming, funny, and touched one's heart. You could identify with it. And then, of course, I went up to San Francisco. I was there on the first day, and you're kind of nervous, and you're ready to work, and they said, would you like to come in and meet Robin in the makeup trailer? I said, sure. And I went in, and there was Robin in the makeup trailer. He had a Hawaiian shirt on, big hairy arms, cargo pants, big hairy legs. But he had the head of Mrs. Doubtfire. It was so bizarre. Oh, hello, Pierce. Oh, you look so handsome. Oh, give us a kiss. No, don't smudge me.
Did you know right then that this was going to work? He was going to be able to pull this off?
Yes, well, I knew when I read the script that it was going to be good. I believed it was going to be good. And then when I saw the transformation happening before my eyes with this head and the voice, and then, of course, came the bodysuit and all of that, it was just hilarious.
Matthew, when was the first time that you saw Mrs. Doubtfire?
Well, it's a very interesting story. They, at the screen test, they basically flew me and a couple other boys to San Francisco to screen test, and they sat us down on a couch next to this lady, and they didn't tell us it was Robin or anything. And I'm like, oh, come on.
So you were
I gotta sit next to this. Oh my gosh. It's just like, moving around. I'm like, oh, this is too much. I'm supposed to be sitting with Robin Williams. Like, what am I doing here, And then it keeps going on. And basically, actually, Robin got me the job, is the end of the story. Yes, because I think the other boy was kind of favored. At least I felt that way. I was like, this guy's going to get it, And Robin, during one take, again, I didn't know it was him. I thought it was Mrs. Doubtfire. Was like, so, just go along with what I'm going to do. I was like, all right, I'll go along. And he grabbed and pinched me without the camera seeing it. And I gave this reaction, and everybody started dying with laughter. And I was really confused. I was like, he literally gave me the hardest turn. I was like, oh, this is just wrong. This is not allowed. What are you doing?
And you weren't acting at that
No,
moment.
it was totally real. And that's what got me the job.
That's what got. So he secretly
he said, I'm going to do something to basically get you the job. Just go along with it. And I was like, whatever. And he did it. I was like, yeah, that single-handedly got me the job.
That's incredible.
I don't remember when we were all in the same room together, but I immediately remember feeling like they were family.
Really?
Like Matt and Lisa. And I remember I think when we all got in the same room together, we kind of knew. And I mean, like I said, I was only 5, but I remember immediately feeling like, oh, these people really do feel like they could be my brother and sister. And I remember secretly hoping, secretly wishing, every single night I was like, I want to get it, but I want them to get it too. I want them to get it too. And I was so thrilled when it actually did happen. And Lisa said that she felt the same way.
Oh, it was just, for some reason, it was, and I'm an only child, but it was just instant. I was like,
Matt and I are not.
I'm an only child.
These are my nice. These people are my family. And I remember meeting Mara and just being like, she's mine. She is mine.
She still is very protective of me.
And she is still mine. And it's just, that doesn't always happen, like Mara was saying. This was a really special movie for a lot of reasons. And the bond, I think, was something that really came through to audiences. Yes. I think that people could really tell how close we really all were.
On screen and off screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Robin, he helped you out in school, right? Or tried to.
He tried. So the shoot for Mrs. Doubtfire was fairly long. We had a lot of rehearsal time and things like that. I'm Canadian, so I was attending high school in Canada, and the way it works is that child actors have a tutor on set and you do 3 hours of school a day. So I was sending my work back to my high school, but it wasn't really working out with my high school. They were a little frustrated that I was away for so long, so they sent a letter when they sent my schoolwork back and said hey, when you're done, don't come back. We're kicking you out of high school. It's just a little disruptive. And so obviously that's pretty traumatic. I was in 9th grade, and Robin was incredibly sweet. He saw that I was upset, asked me what was going on, and he asked for my principal's address. And he sent a letter to my school asking them to reconsider, saying, Lisa is just trying to balance her career and her education, and can you please help support her? Which was so kind, and he did not need to do that for me.
Did it work?
So the school...
this is a tough school.
Here's the kicker. The school got the letter, and they framed the letter
From Robin Williams,
and
right?
they put it up in the principal's office.
And they did not.
And they did not invite me to come back to school.
Oh wow,
Cheeky,
that's incredible.
Cheeky.
Yeah.
Shame on
And
them.
now you are no longer an alumni of that school.
That is correct. Yeah. You know, eventually I got my GED and I went to the University of Virginia and it all worked out okay. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was so incredibly meaningful and was a lesson that really stuck with me actually for a long time of you stand up for what's right. You know, it might not work out, but it was really important to him that he register like, hey, this is not cool. This is not something that is fair. And I really feel like that's something that impacted me as a young person and has kind of gone on to shape who I am. It's fascinating. Yeah.
Pierce, this is Mrs. Doubtfire was one of the first times we all saw your superpower of a smile. What?
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Boom. And it hasn't changed at all. I've got some coffee on my chin, just like Sally Fields when she first sees you.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: what did this movie do for you?
It kept me employed for that year. Yes, I managed to pay the mortgage and look after my children. But I think it's forever deeply ingrained in my heart as a piece of beautiful cinema, and cinema that has touched the world and has gone on so for 25 years because of the healing power of laughter, but also because of the nature of the story, which is very empowering for young men and women or families who are going through a disruptive time in life, that of divorce. I think it's a very healing film in many ways. And so to be part of a piece of entertainment, cinematic, legendary entertainment like this is deeply meaningful. Very proud of it.
Do you still have people coming up to you and talking about their family's divorce and what this movie did for them?
No, not necessarily so, but it is, people will say, oh, my favorite film, and it's Mrs. Doubtfire, many a time. So, and to work with Robin was just sheer heaven, and to watch his artistry, his commitment, his passion, his humanity, and his just hard work and commitment to the role and to everyone on the set. It was just, it permeated all our lives.
Yep. Well, as a child of divorced parents, I have to tell you, I watched this movie and it helped. It let you know that things were going to be okay, and that it wasn't necessarily your fault, and there were things that were beyond your control, but there was light at the end of the tunnel. So thanks on behalf of all divorced.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And it's really incredible to know that you had that impact, that you're able to help people, as we were children, and we got to make people feel better about themselves. That's, what more can you ask for, really?
Obviously, the loss of Robin Williams is indescribable. But what was your favorite part about working with Robin?
He was so great with kids.
Yeah.
He really was.
Incredible. Yeah.
He kept his, his separate, like we were talking about before, the blue material. He kept that away from us. He was very kind, very giving, very funny.
And he had his own material for you guys, right?
Oh yeah, all the time. He made. Do you remember the hand puppets?
Oh,
he always
yeah.
made talk. Yeah, he would do that. In the petting zoo scene, I remember he fed like the goat out of my hat, or no, it was his hat. He fed the goat out of his hat, and then turned to me and said, "You want to wear the hat?" No, I did not. That was very much, yeah. He would make his carpet bag bark like a dog under the table. There were so many times, just innumerable times that he made us laugh.
Well, I never felt I worked with Robin Williams. I was always working with Mrs. Doubtfire.
Doubtfire,
I mean,
right.
from day one, it was Mrs. Doubtfire. And then when we actually, started filming, there she was. It wasn't until the very end of the movie, there was a knock on my door. Hey, Pierce, Robin. And there was Robin Williams. Like, oh my God! Because he would get to work in the morning about 3 or 4 in the morning and be in the makeup chair, preparation.
Wow. And you guys remained friends afterwards.
We did, yes. We would see each other at various events, and he was always loving and gracious and kind, and how you doing? And yes, but we didn't keep a rapport of communication.
If you had to describe Robin, how would you describe him?
deeply human, kind, generous, loving.
The consummate performer.
Yes.
Such a performer. Just naturally, just so gifted at putting on a show and entertaining everybody around him.
And at the same time,
but
I feel like deeply authentic.
Yes.
Because one of the most powerful things for me about working with him is that he was very open and honest with me, talking about his issues with addiction, depression, and that was so powerful to me at 14. I have struggled with anxiety my whole life. And the fact that he was so honest about those things had a major impact on me. And now that I'm almost 40, it's like I'm an advocate for mental wellness. I wrote an entire book about anxiety and depression, and I know that part of that has to do with the fact that he was so willing to talk to me about these things. And it's like, ditch the stigma, ditch all the issues that surround mental health. Like, let's have a conversation about this. And that really, really stuck with me in a meaningful way.
And it still resonates today. It's
Absolutely. We needed that 25 years ago, and we still need it now.
Exactly, yeah. I'm an activist for mental health as well, and it's something that Lisa and I have talked about a lot, and I think that we're glad that we had this shared experience. You know, he could be so on and just such a performer, but he could also be very, very introverted and quiet and sincere, very, like looking at you, speaking very soft-spoken. There were a lot of layers there, but he was always, as Lisa said, he was always authentic.
Yeah. Matthew, what was it like?
Did you keep in touch with him?
I did. We would send Christmas cards back and forth and such. And the last time I saw him, I was in college, and he was filming in New York. And I ran into him in Washington Square Park, and he just, gave me a big hug and was so kind and gentle, just talking to me just like an old friend, and knew who I was and knew, even though I looked completely different because I didn't look like I was 5 anymore. Right. He was, but yeah, we did table readings together and things, and he was always just so kind and patient with me, which is great because I was very young on the film set and there was a lot that I didn't understand, but he was very parental and very kind the whole time.
Speaking of things you didn't understand, you were always the girl that blurted everything out, right?
Yeah, I mean, typecasting, right? And it's funny because I remember talking to my brother about that, and he said that he felt like all we 3 kids kind of had, Matt had his physicality and the kind of touch of rebelliousness in his character, and Lisa had that sort of like gravitas as Lydia, and I had just the tendency to blurt everything out, and I mean that is me in real life too, so to some degree, but I do think that we represented these different aspects of him very well, I think.
Matthew, you worked with some of the most talented actors around, and you were at that young age where you're looking up to men and seeing role models. What was it like when you worked alongside Robin Williams?
Well, I mean, both Robin and Pierce, actually. As an 11 or 12-year-old boy, I was really searching for, what type of guy I thought was cool. Who did I look up to? What was it? Because I was in a little bit of a bubble at that point in my life because I'd already been in the business and my parents were really sheltering me at that time. So I didn't really have a lot of experience out in the world in a weird way. I had a lot of experience on sets and with my animals. I was very introverted that way. Loved my animals, do that. So it was really the first experience getting to work with guys like this. And
when you first saw this guy?
Oh my gosh. There's a funny thing with that. I was in the makeup trailer and he walks in and I'll never forget, it was the first time as a young boy watching all the women in the room kind of change their posture. Right. And I was like, okay, this is a cool guy. This is a cool guy. And I was like, I got to take some notes from this one over here.
Here's some money. It's 50.
Very true, though. I remember just thinking, wow, that's cool. He's a really cool guy. And then you told me a story about your son's iguana, because what you asked me right away was what do you like? And I was like, I like reptiles. And he was like, you were like, I bought my son an iguana, and I left him on the windowsill, and he died.
Stop. Yes. It's like, oh my God.
What you did.
I ran down to the pet store and put another. There you go.
That's exactly the story you told me. Yeah. So
is this going to be breaking news to your son? Does he know about this switcheroo?
It's over it. It's over it.
Sorry, I didn't put up. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Pierce is also very funny too. So So
you.
yes,
Thank you,
he's
Mara.
handsome and he's funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Which is why we all straighten up when he comes around.
Everyone's
Stop it. Moving right
My whole
along.
family cheered. My whole family cheered when he got Bond. We were so
Bond?
excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That was
we-
incredible.
Yes,
That was
it's
awesome.
Pierce.
It was good while it lasted, yes. Saved the world 4 times for the lot of you.
You're welcome.
And then Robin, you know, Robin was incredibly, it was like a guiding force. It was really interesting. Like, without even really quite understanding what he was doing, he was constantly guiding me in everything. Like, he would just all of a sudden out of the blue, like, look over and be like, by the way, don't do drugs. It really messed up my brain. I'm serious. Do not do them. They will mess with your brain. And I was like, okay, that stuck with me.
Really?
And that helped me through, like, my teen and my 20 years when I was going out in L.A. And
Yes.
I always had that in the back of my mind. I was like, he was really serious, and he really looked in the eye and was like, it'll mess with your brain. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So just stuff like that all the time. You know, he took me for a walk as Mrs. Doubtfire in San Francisco. And nobody knew. They thought it was my nanny.
Yeah.
And he played it off, and we sat down with these other 2 British ladies. They didn't even know. It was incredible. Like, incredible. So just experiences like that will stick with you forever. I mean, but the guidance from him. And I do remember seeing that he had this almost kind of deep sorrow in him. Mm-hmm. And he also shared that with me. And that was such like a gift to be able, because if he just had kept it, you know, and didn't explain it, it would have been like a weird thing, or I wouldn't have gotten as close to him. He completely opened up to me with that and just explained it to me. And for an 11-year-old to get that kind of experience like that, I don't have any other experiences like that. You know? So.
Yeah, I felt like he was I remember seeing him shortly after my mother died at a table read, and he was very sympathetic and kind in a way that I think it was hard for a lot of other people to be. They kind of didn't know what to say. I was still pretty young, and but he related to me in a way that felt very open and honest and didn't feel pitying or condescending, and it really did feel like he understood sorrow. He did.
And it made him just so, he was just able to understand other people because of that. Like, he could really put himself in your shoes, and he understood that everybody has something, you know. It's just really impactful.
Yeah,
from such a powerful person to have such this incredibly innate human quality. It's awesome.
It was his smile was like no one has a smile like his. It was
that little thing in his eye.
Yeah, that little vulnerability.
What is it? Yeah,
it's
wow.
like things aren't all right, but they are all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be just fine. You know?
Which I think is sort of the message of the movie too. Right. That things will be all right as long as there's love there, as long as there's understanding there. There will be, amidst all the silliness and hijinks and farce. There is definitely that message in it.
I'm fine.
You're crying. Oh man. So, if you guys all had to sum up the legacy of this movie, you just did so perfectly.
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think before Mrs. Doubtfire, I think not a lot of movies dealt in a realistic way with divorce. I think, people ended up getting back together. And I think it really showed that there are different versions of a happy ending. Yeah. And that families might look different. People might live differently than you. But when there's love, when there's acceptance, all of those things, it's going to be okay. And I think that continues to be a really powerful message for people, that this might not be exactly how you thought it was going to be, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad or that you're not going to be okay. And I think that that's something that we all need to be reminded of.
I'm going to go buy your book.
You should. It's so good. It's so good.
Wow.
Thank you.
Amazingly spoken by the two of you, really.
We're sisters.
We're sisters. We share the writer gene and the anxiety gene.
We do. Yeah.
And these are now your stepdaughters, right?
Express it with the greatest of humanity and just open hearts. I agree with everything you both say. And I think it also highlights the comic genius of this great actor, the humanity of Robin, and his courage to deal with life and yet to share life in such a beautiful way with great characters and writing and performance.
Yeah, unforgettable. How about you? What would?
Well, I mean, He's really done a good job with explaining what it meant. But I think for me, just personally, it was just so great to see a group of people that you really love and really got close with, just go and kind of win it all, like a Super Bowl, like a team that you're with, and they just went all the way, and it really touched the right way, and it accomplished what we set out to do. It's very rare to have it really hit home like that, and in such a perfect, exquisite way. It's just great. So that's what the film to me really is. It's just a great film, just a really great family film where you could sit down and it wasn't all the BS and all. It was just real. It made you laugh, made you cry, made you feel all those things that you feel when you're in with your own family, But you could relate it to these people that you were watching, and it was just that's so special.
Well, we're sitting here today celebrating this
Yes.
movie after 25 years.
Incredible.
You don't hear that many times a story like this, about a film like this, and a man like Robin Williams.
Yep.
That you can just turn on, pick up, and it's exactly
That will be
what
passed
it
on
is.
from generation
Yeah.
to generation.
The musical's coming, right? Broadway,
right.
right?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
No, this is
So,
No, like
yeah,
I've heard about this.
So
but
Broadway's
anyway.
got some plans for Mrs. Doubtfire. Would you guys go see it?
in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I feel like we'd have to.
Yes.
And we would want to.
Yeah.
Field trip.
Second reunion, right?
That's on my coast.
All right.
Oh,
Yes.
you guys can stay at my house.
Yes.
Well, the party will be awesome.
That's good.
So we'll start with you, Matthew. What was your favorite scene, the most memorable scene?
Probably when I had to catch him pee, just because that was also kind of a thing for an 11-year-old boy, So I was always like really kind of going, okay, how are they going to do this? And they did it with like this little bag, and I don't know, it's just that one impacted me because I guess also people just have throughout the years just keep coming up and repeating that line like he's a she or whatever I said at that point, and so that one kind of stuck with me because it's just a special moment for me personally. But I think that there was nothing like that restaurant scene. I mean, that scene was incredible. I mean, just to get to be at a table with those people is just unbelievable for a kid. I mean, everybody involved, every single person at that table was just so exquisite. It's just like, wow, these people are just, everyone's talented and nice and cool. And it was great. That scene was amazing. I really loved it. Yeah.
I think it has to be the drive-by fruiting.
Drive-by fruiting.
The dinner sequence is masterful. It's a great farcical piece. But the drive-by fruiting is really, it's out there as a Giphy. I even sent it to friends.
You sent. Wait, hold on.
I sent it to friends.
You send the drive-by fruiting to friends.
Yes. It just tickles me.
It means so much, right?
Well, then we got it in one take, really, or second take. And, but I also remember that whole morning because Stu, my character, had to do a high dive.
Oh yeah.
That's right. I don't dive.
You're not a diver.
I'm good on green screen and blue screen. I'm just an actor. But that diving board was so high. It was like 25 feet.
So you'd get up there.
Oh, I walked up there in my togs, my swimming outfit, and I'd walk out and I'd present myself like this, and then they would cut the camera. But there was 200 extras there, so...
Dive board walk of shame.
So yes, many times. I would walk out, go like that, they'd cut, and then they'd always say, jump, jump. And I'd kind of slowly edge my way back for another take. Thank you all, thank you. But no, the drive-by fruiting, I think that's fine.
I can't believe you use that as your own gift.
Yes, I have done it at times.
Wow.
Well, it's sometimes appropriate in the context of an email with a friend. With friends. I don't send it to strangers.
Oh, that's great. Oh. It's got so many different meanings too. Surprise,
It does.
Yeah. That's phenomenal.
It's a great one.
How about you? What was your favorite?
I'm going to have to agree with Matt in terms of what was the most fun to film was the reveal when we found out that Dad was Mrs. Doubtfire. And that's, I mean, anytime you get to brandish a tennis racket as a weapon at work is kind of fun. But I remember just having a really good time filming that that scene. And it goes from being like tense and hysterical to really tender and sweet, which I think kind of encapsulates the movie. And yeah, I love that. But to watch, Run by Fruiting. Run by Fruiting all the way.
Yeah. Speaking of the dinner scene, I mean,
yes.
Your delivery of that one little word, Dad, I mean, it's so emotional. That's one of the most memorable parts for me. I remember your face just saying that.
I think I wasn't actually even looking at Robin at that scene. There were a lot of close-ups, and I think it was hard for me to get that because it's a very loaded moment. And I remember they would have me look at like a piece of tape on the camera, and it wasn't working. I couldn't connect with that. So they got a Polaroid of Robin, and they put that on the camera. Wow. And seeing him there, exactly. And seeing him there, it you know. And we had been filming I think for a month or two at that point, so I already had really connected with Robin, and had this relationship with him. So I guess even just seeing his face got me through that scene, and I felt like I could connect with him in some way.
Yeah, it was crushing. I mean, that was just such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, that was, I don't think I realized until later, because I think I was just like, I'm 5 years old, but I'm a grown-up now that I'm on film sets, and I didn't realize how devastating it would be to see a young child, as a child in that age, you know, and have that expression. Mm-hmm. From the outside, it's just like, oh yeah, that is incredibly sad, that's incredibly moving. But I think at the time I was just like, this is fun. except for the time I remember we were at the dinner table and I turned my head too quickly and I got my hair in the gravy. And and I remember saying to Chris Columbus, like, is this okay? Can we get it out? And he said, oh, it's good. It's fine for your hair. It's better than mousse. Yeah, the birthday party scene too. That was fun. Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was like a birthday party.
It was. Truly.
If you look closely, you can see me with my teddy bear in there. Oh. They let me bring my teddy bear.
And that was your real
set
teddy
that
bear.
Day. My real teddy bear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cameo.
But yeah, it was. We were dancing. We were throwing confetti. We were making a mess. It was great.
Well, you did mention Christopher Columbus. He was such an important part of all of this. He had such a gift with us all of kindness again, and just created an atmosphere on the set which made everyone very relaxed. Yeah, that's what you want.
I can't imagine what the script looked like without seeing all of these things come to life and being like, wow. Wait, we're gonna have a man pretend like he's an older woman, and the complexity.
My mother used to say her favorite memory of us filming was when that we were doing, I think, probably one of the first days you were in Golden Gate Park and riding the bikes, and she said that he asked me what kind of music I liked, and I, lifelong drama nerd that I've been, said that I liked musicals. And he started singing "There Is Nothing Like a Dame" while dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire. So it was a man as a woman singing that there was nothing like a dame. Wow. Yeah.
Your own version of Dude Looks Like a Lady.
I mean, lots of levels there. Yeah.
Wow. And Sally Fields, what was it like working with Sally Fields?
Well, you notice we all just melted, right? We're like, oh. I mean, she was like a mom to us. It can be really hard to be a child actor on sets. The hours are long, you've got school. I mean, it's a lot of work. And I just always remember Sally like checking in on us and bringing us books and games and making sure that we were okay and that we were having fun and that it was a good experience for us. And that just was so meaningful, I think, to all of us that she would take the time to do that.
She checked on me as well.
She did?
Yes. Did she bring you games?
No
books, no games?
No, we just hit the ground running, actually, on day one, the two of us, and there was always, you know, when I go to work, I got to keep to myself, but I'm not that isolated, but she was so gracious, so lovely. Yeah, we got on very well.
Matthew, do you remember the first time you met her?
Yeah, absolutely. She's just my son. And then she said to me like 15 years later too, and I bumped into her. My son.
Oh,
incredible.
She would get down. I remember get down to my level, and when I had to at the dinner scene, where his so and so kids too, that infamous scene, she would get down on my level and look me in the eye and say and work it with me till I sounded till I got like the fierceness of it down. And I remember her like,
You
yeah,
guys
yeah,
do that.
you did.
That's crazy.
Really?
She would just be like, okay, now let's say it again. Let's say it again. And I would do it to her. And I remember her going, good, you scared me.
Yes.
Yes.
Totally.
Wow.
I totally remember that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's got to be so formative. I mean,
Yeah, it was. And she sent me like, yeah, she would give us gift baskets and toys. I think there's a teddy bear in one of the scenes. I think when we're first meeting you that I think she gave me, like she was just very maternal.
Yeah.
Very maternal.
Wow.
It comes naturally to her, I think.
Yeah. No, the chemistry, all across the board. It was just everybody was.
We were lucky.
Yeah.
You're really lucky.
Blessed.
Yeah.